living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
We are now in our Cup Chat segment here on Activated Mornings. And this morning for Cup Chat, we are speaking all things hurricane preparedness. We have in studio Mr. Mark Ellis, who is the Assistant Superintendent of Police with the Police Fire Brigade. And we have Mr. Stanley Harris, who is the Senior T&G Engineer at VINLEC. This morning, they're discussing hurricane preparedness, a multi-agency approach to safety and resilience. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, WEFM listeners. Good morning to the nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and listeners.
All right, you can go right ahead and introduce yourselves. We don't have any ladies over there, so I can't say ladies first. So I'll start.
Civilian of our police. Which one first?
Okay, so good morning. Good morning. I'll take it off. So I just want to take the opportunity to first share with the public some awareness with regard to hurricane preparedness. On June 1st is the opening of the hurricane season, and we would have had a tremendous effect in last year. And so coming forward this year, it's imperative that we get out to the nation clear indications of what can be done, what preparation individuals need to be doing, and businesses, along with other parties of interest across St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
What does TND stand for?
Yeah.
So TND is short for transmission and distribution. That's a utility term that you will find in the electric utility environment.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good morning again, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to the diaspora. My name is Mark Ellis, Assistant Superintendent of Police, presently in charge of the Fire Department, and I'm here to share information with you today in terms of fires during a hurricane and after a hurricane. I'm happy to be here.
Curious question. How do you guys generally feel when the hurricane season is approaching? Do you feel, in a sense, I'm like, oh gosh, we're here. We're not sure what to expect. Do you get that type of feeling?
So from a utility point of view, let me tell you what. I mean, hurricane is just one period. Mm-hmm. Let me admit, I know we are here to speak about hurricane, but we have weather conditions throughout the 12 months of the year. Mm-hmm. So in the first part of the year, yes, it's dry. However, we do have the windy period, which is typically Easter time, and that poses some challenges for us. Mm-hmm. And then you do have periods in which we do have weather such as, people call them freak storms, but in the dry season, can you imagine when you do have rains, we do have landslides, and we do have other effects where vegetation may contact with lines. So for us, it's not just hurricane, that is a pre-prep period, but when hurricane, there's a significant ramp up. So it is something in our psyche. When you think about transmission and distribution, I want you to think about it like this. Anything that leaves the power station that reaches your home, that's T&D. So it is natural in an environment that we're going to find we respond to that. Police respond to crime and fire, but we respond to be sure that those lines are up and they are connected so power can be transmitted to customers.
So you have that feeling all year round.
No, it's like, this is it. When you leave home, so when you leave home, it doesn't have to be hurricane period, but I can tell you, you have no idea. At 5 o'clock yesterday morning, it was a call, and this morning circuit went out. And I call those pre-experiences to the hurricane because we've had high winds in the most recent times. And now we're having some rains, other effects will take place. So hurricane for us is a, let me call it peak period, if you want to say it that way.
Okay.
But throughout the year, it's the normal life because weather is what we live with.
Okay.
Well, for us at the fire department, we are out of the dry season, which is good because once the dry season is on, we encounter a lot of bushfires. Well, it's an anxious time now that we are into the hurricane season. We are happy for the rain because it lessens the bushfires. But the hurricane season is now upon us, and we're talking about we don't know what will happen. We trust God to extend His hands of mercies upon us. But when you talk hurricane, you talk about search and rescue after the hurricane. So we are hoping by God's grace and mercies,
Okay.
we'll see what happens. But it's an anxious times for us as at the fire department because we will be busy.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us how your various organizations are preparing for the hurricane season? I noticed that Vinlec has been giving some video tips on social media, but apart from that, could you give us some more as well as you?
So from a practical perspective, nationally, we would have initiated somewhere in the second quarter of this year what we call line inspections. And that is essentially persons would have gone out there to scout the lines and patrol, identify some defects. And then we will program schedule work to deal with those defects. Now we seek, because of efficiency and effectiveness, we would focus on the critical of the critical. I must admit to you that it is unreasonable for me to tell you that 100% would be cleared in the time period because it's a resource-based event. Other things do come up which takes the resources away, even though we have planned work to attend to certain matters. So that portion of time, we're going to do what is called a layout, where we're going to have teams go out in a more concentrated way for a time. It may be a day or two, and actually canvass the entire circuits to do what I call a mass pullback. And then from that also we can do some pullout of the most critical of the critical. But having said that, we are currently entering in dealing with some of those critical matters. Of course, as I said, we would have had certain resource constraints, given a number of factors. It's, for example, we would have had a loss of 2 of our major vegetation contractors. So we would have been procuring vegetation contract services. We are now on board 3 persons. We had lost 2. And so we're ramping up how we're going to be dealing with vegetation management. We would have had inputs of at least 3 vehicles. We call them utility vehicles, which would be operational for effecting work in a more efficient way. You would see men going up in bucket trucks, etc., etc. It enhances the response time of men climbing with their mechanical saw to cut lumber, etc., of a pole being burned, or a situation where you're going to trim trees, etc. So we are seeking to what we call enhance our response, but things took time for those things to be coming into gear. Ideally, it would have been great if this would have been in first quarter, etc., so we could have gotten those, but we do not have control over many aspects, and we are now in that place where the vehicles are here, we have the contractors, and we have been procuring material in preparation given what happened last year. Something that the public is quite not aware of with regard to logistics of material coming from first world country. It has taken a long time in the last 24 to 28 months, simply because on an international basis, our quantities are quite small, and preference are given to major players who are having large orders with the same service providers. So what is happening is you have a combination of things, but we are seeking to have our material inventory up to cater for buffer periods. And we're talking from the poles, the transformers. Think of it this way. There is nothing that we use except labor that is local. Think of it. So anything for replacement, a person might take it that they're out of service for a long time, but anything, it is not regionally produced, it is international. So all of that is an import logistic matter that we have to deal with, and we seek to make focus on that within first, second quarter, so we can have the commitments of the deliveries in a timing way for us to be able to utilize in the event something happens. Otherwise than that, we will have what we call our buffer stock.
Okay. All right. And from the police
Well,
standpoint?
at the fire department, we are already in preparedness in terms of getting our equipment, our chainsaws, our rescue boats, and other stuff in order, so that if a hurricane comes along, we can do our search and rescue. And we have a search and rescue team. We're already having discussions as to what to do, and so on and so forth. So we are in preparedness at the fire department, the police, yes.
Okay, Mr. Harris, you made mention of line inspections, but how can the public assist with this too? Because we note sometimes, because I heard you speak about vegetation management, and I'm assuming that this is like the trimming of vines, etc., on lines, right? But how can the public help to assist to make buildings work a little bit easier?
So essentially, there are two parts I want to share that with. So a homeowner or business owner has a property. The reality is that persons plant their coconut trees or mango trees or their rain trees that they may use for fencing in a particular way, but it is not cognizant of where power lines run. And so there is a disconnect between the customer or the public seeking to do what they need to do and what obtains with a utility infrastructure. So, for example, we're going to advocate that for persons where lines are growing up into trees, that you be committed to have them pruned. There's a difference when we do vegetation management. There is trimming, there is pruning. So one really is taking it down literally to the stump, because that is a dangerous tree. It can be hazardous to bringing down this circuit. And the other is really pruning in a manner, because different vegetation has different growth level. So a coconut tree which actually swings because it has strong roots, it's not literally going to break compared to a breadfruit tree or mango tree. And when that touches contact with the line under windy conditions, I didn't say rain now, windy, because we do have both of them happening. You can have wind without rain, and you can have rain with wind, but it will dance in the environment under windy condition. And if it's wet now, and because the homeowner or the public who is walking on the street is not cognizant, you can have potential contact with the lines in which at that moment, just by coincidence of all things being so good, power runs down. And typically in our communities, persons may walk barefoot.
Yes.
And for one reason or the other, if you're out there and it's wet and you're wet, you become a part to the conductivity of electricity.
Yeah.
So a homeowner is not cognizant that, yes, it's my property and what I do, but we want to create a mindfulness that the proximity of when this grew up, that you can prune it early enough, and that reasonably we'd be advocating that that takes place somewhere in April, March, because then it's in the dry season. Now, when rain comes, you do have faster growth on trees. And we are advocating, if you go outside and you see the vegetation, whatever tree it might be, is growing up into the line, we can make a conversation in which we can take off the power, you do the cuttings. Now, you do have areas in which it is unpopulated, etc. Lines are running there and vegetation is running there. That's our super focus, because it is unpopulated, it is uninhabited, and we seek to establish a clear pathway corridor for the lines so that any incumbent tree that might have broken or dropped is not bringing down this circuit. Now, let me explain something to you. A person who is out of power is not pleased because they're seeking uninterrupted supply. But each one of us is not aware that our contribution is for that not to happen until it happens. Okay. we are not going to go about, I would say to you and say, oh my goodness, this person didn't do that and look at what happened, because our business is to restore supply so that persons can have continuity. But as persons in a community, you are not aware that you're affecting both yourself and your fellow community persons when that circuit comes out. And therefore, we will have a clear priority how we're going to bring back systems when things are down. And so you can be waiting longer for a service to be restored, but it could have been avoidable simply by us managing a level of what's happening in our backyard.
And that's interesting thing, because rather than
Yes.
blame Dianna, because how she drop on it, we blame Vinlek, right? So
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's a manner of looking at it.
All right. So I have a curious question though. So when you see, let's say a tree, a tree or a line is running through a tree and it's on the property of the homeowner, is it a case where a conversation is had first and they are asked, or it's a request is being made of them that it's to cut it down at that point in time? And let's say if they don't, let's say you give 2 weeks, maybe not even 2 weeks, but do you give a timeline? And if they don't do it, you come and do it yourself. Like, do you have that authority to just do it yourself?
So let me say to you this way, that it happens both ways. For example, during inspection, we, based on the nature of the risk level we identify that is, we're literally going there and actually clear it. Okay. Because I would tell it to you this way. In the space of electricity, our great priority is delivery of service, but in a safe manner. So there are two words that is going to be spoken of by me in an indirect way. It's not going to be said much after, but safety and your security. And I know police is in that space also, but from an electrical perspective, you want to be able to have a safe supply to customers. It's unreasonable that if I came to your premises and I see they say to be a catastrophic level risk, that I'm going to engage you in a dialogue and menu back and forth, and something happens, then it brings liability with us, because there is no replacement of insurance for a hurt person, but even worse off is for a deceased person. So I come from a background of investigations of death and shock, etc., etc. It is not natural for us to see a most critical matter, turn our back away and say, you're the person responsible to do that. We handle that. Maybe you're not going to like that. Maybe you say, I want compensation. That's a different matter altogether, because our priority is the safety of the public, and even you who you're not aware of, it's your own safety. Okay,
good.
All right. So from both of you, can you give us some tips on how we can start preparing for the season as it relates to our electricals? I don't know who would like to go first.
So
But
I would say to you that, broadly speaking, let me indicate 3 or 5 items. It may seem unrelated, it may not seem electrical, but let me give you some fundamentals. So you're a homeowner, you're a business person, you have a house, it may have the earnings. Go about checking that your earnings are intact. And the reason that is that there is a connection from the pole to a meter column or to the house with the service cable, and that can swing, it can get loose or pull out under high winds. So you want to just go walk around your house. Is it clear? Is my fascia board in well? Is it secured in? Is the area in which capture the water falling off the house, is that cleaned? Are my gutters cleared? Because if my gutters are blocked up, I'm going to have water flow coming back in my yard because maybe bush get down in it, etc., etc. And it may seem unrelated, but hey, how it's related. If water is not reasonably able to flow off your property, if your physical infrastructure is not intact and that falls down, you can hurt yourself. But more than that, because there is a connection some part of the house, we don't know if something can blow off and actually strike that and pull it down. We are seeing, remember, in our business, we have seen what many have not seen. And I'm not talking about last year. We had Thomas, we have 2010, we have 2013, we have the floods. So we have seen it over a period of time. And the good thing I want to say to you is this, that I'm sitting here with you in this office, but believe you me, when it's done, it's done. I'm out there and I'm not looking like this. So,
Oh, this is a need you.
so when we move in the morning, it's like 6 o'clock, we are out there, etc., etc. And there's a portion, I know we're responding to preparing for the hurricane. In this portion, what I'm saying is that we get to see what the customer and the public is not seeing, that simple things can be done now to avoid and reduce the impact. It's going to be both from a safety and a security point of view. Security, because the cost of you doing it after is tremendous. And you may not see it as a pain point now, but you would typically have a triple pain if you don't pay attention. It means that you're going to have to find the material, you're going to have to find the money. Now it might be a tighter time for you. Now you're going to have to wait for a reconnection because of the process that we'll talk through those items later, but the process in which it has to go through. And you will be terribly disturbed. When I say disturbed, you understand me, right? Because when you're out of supply, the water to actually some people use for cooking, electric cooking, etc., etc. It's a convenience that is normal daily life, charging your phone, as simple as that, So I'm just saying that pay attention to the basic things right now, get attention to the property structure, and then now I come to where vegetation is growing. It's timely that you make attention, be sure that, hey, that mango tree limb is there, etc. If you have a concern, you can reach us at, I'm going to give our emergency number, we're going to give our landline number. Our emergency is 45-61540, just to make an engagement that we could turn off for you and you can effect that. Okay? So
Oh, you could do that?
we can arrange for such to be done.
Oh.
I'm saying that's a coordinated and a timed event, because it's not like we have a specific team that's going to come turn off for you, wait there until you turn back. We're doing other things. We turn off, it would be an inconvenience for you or your neighbors, but we come make an assessment and basically allow the process to be done by you, but making it a safe manner. If we identify the risk level, it can be. Okay?
And a thought just came to me, because maybe it could be as a community, or like you're your immediate neighbors, you all do the assessment. If you see multiple of you need to do the trimming, etc., then you could do it all, come together on that day, put in that request, so that you're all, quote unquote, inconvenienced at the same time while you get work done, so that you could take a collective approach like that.
That's a beautiful idea. And that is fantastic, because typically, remember, we're trying to create an awareness which has not been. And if we can have persons of like minds coming together, that's more fantastic, because what obtained is when you do a shutdown for that period, if we take it as a 2-hour window, depending on the volume of work that is necessary to be done, these persons can be assured, at least for one item. Remember, item 1 would be my personal property, I'm securing that. Item 2 is what community affects. So, hey, this will not be an issue if something untowards to occur. And we will in a future time be having information out further, not because of hurricane, about vegetation, about close proximity items, tips, etc. in a future time, because that's a work in progress we're doing. However, it can start at this moment where persons can get to, and we attempt to see how we can coordinate, make the assessment, and have that done. So typically it has happened more on a one-on-one basis, but clearly it will require a meeting of minds for neighbor A, neighbor B. And I think this is a fantastic idea, for which first and foremost, I call it the neighborhood watch can be taken up on. For communities that have neighborhood watch, they're already in a synced group of like minds to do certain things.
And Officer Ellis, are there any tips you can give us, electrical tips for fire prevention during the season?
Well, yes. In terms of there are objects or activities that can pose fire risks during and after severe weather, and I'll just list a few. Cooking and heating appliances that can cause fire. We have combustion items like space heaters, gas rangers, and ovens, furnaces, gas, water heaters, clothes dryers. And then we have smoking. We have unattended cooking. We have using open flames, electrical malfunctions, and Mr. Harris or Harry? Harris was talking about that in getting your stuff. Sometimes you have appliances that are malfunctioning. It's best to get them checked out. We have intentional fires. We have frayed electrical cords, unattended candles, but we can mitigate by plan for severe weather events to ensure safety before, during, and after each event. Take an all hazards approach to preparedness. Use risk mitigation strategies to mitigate risk and protect assets. Deliver help and interventions during and after emergencies to save lives, safeguard health and property.
I'd like to just uptake a portion on that to contribute in that space. So imagine that we have some notification. It could be a depression, it could be a trough system, it could be a storm, it could be a hurricane. We have escalated weather condition. At this point in time, you might be aware that your fridge give you a little tingle early in the morning. It's slightly damp on the ground, you're barefooted, even though you have tiles, but you pay no attention to that. Now, that's a signal that life is giving you, I'm saying, to take action. So at that moment, you didn't pay any attention. Now weather system came, and it may sound really peculiar, but water gets into spaces under certain condition with the wind that normally it would not get into. And then it accelerates that little tingle that you're feeling. So it's very necessary, not because only of hurricane and wind, etc., and rain, but it's very necessary that if you're having some operation in your property electrically, whether it's the wiring or the electric equipment that is not functioning properly, pay attention and get it checked out.
And something else I want to add to, because sometimes, most of the time, money is tight, and you might want to use somebody who not really qualified to check your appliances. I want to song a note, if you have to squeeze, you have to squeeze, but get a professional person to check the appliance for you.
So agreed. So agreed. And I have to reiterate to you, right? The loss of any limb, we do not grow back limbs. And the loss of a life, no insurance could compensate for that. And having been at it and seen it, it is, how do I say that to you most cogently? It is some things for which could have been avoided.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that if we pay attention to the basics, the avoidable, such as injury, such as death, can significantly be eliminated. Okay.
What would you say towards the move of, let's say, more rechargeable devices? Because when I think about candles, like I afraid candles, afraid candles. Love to see them, but I'm afraid of candles. So would you maybe, let's say, advocate for persons that to get rechargeable candles, rechargeable lights, as opposed, because in instances when the electricity goes, you're just there, you might need light in the home, you're using a candle, but you're falling asleep, and it can then lead to fire. So I think, maybe is it advisable for persons maybe to keep up with what is out there on the market so that you don't put yourself in particular danger?
Well, if you have to use candles, we always advise that you stay close to the candle that you're using, but we also advise using a flashlight, to minimize the risk of any fire.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even with the candles, do you put it in water and that sort of thing?
Yes, you can put it in water, you can put it in a container.
All right.
But you make sure you stay close.
Okay.
To monitor
it.
Yes.
Yes.
So from our perspective, we would not, forgive me.
You go ahead.
We would not in any way, or wherever the communication comes out about getting your candles, we will advocate. So that's not in our mantra. get flashlight, get batteries, get stocks, because maybe you're gonna have there are different type of lighting source that are battery operated. Get sufficient stocks of batteries to upheld, get your radio to listen to, but nothing that is having an open flame.
Right.
We will not advocate that, because clearly I would say to you this, right? When we make an assessment of the situation, we are building in an engineering way safety already in that the person's not. So invest in a flashlight. It could be a cheap flashlight, but when you buy a pack of candles and that is used, then we have multiple things, because the person at the time may not put it on a metal, it might be on a plastic, and then that creates a fire, and then that creates other thing, and then you lose the property, and then persons are homeless. So we build in the risk one time. Get a flashlight.
Yeah. Also, we normally advise you have battery operated lanterns. You can use those.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to take a break here, listen to some ads, and then we will be right back with our interview. Listeners, when we come back, you can call us 457-9997. You can call us to ask your questions or to make comments.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Balls Avenue and in Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tires, the king of the mountain, Cooper Tires, king of the road and track, Ostone, the king of the outback, and High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy-duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnisvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road.
Let's get your laundry clean and fresh with the widest range of washing machines and dryers in SVG. At Singer, choose between our West Point and Speed Queen brands with an array of washing machines with payments starting as low as $92 per month. Your laundry room wouldn't be complete without a Whirlpool or Speed Queen electric or gas-operated dryer, saving your energy consumption. Also in stock is our West Point washer-dryer combo for only $136 per month. One machine that does the work of two. No need to change machines. Just toss in your laundry and forget about it. Whether your preference in machines is top loading or front loading, whether you want a 9 kilogram or a larger 15 kilogram washer, whether you're looking for a gas or electric dryer, we've got it all at Singer. Visit us today and get the washing machine and dryer that's perfect for you. Singer, your family company.
Give me Calypso, sweet, sweet Calypso.
Everyone's waiting for the ultimate Calypso tent, the Graduates Calypso tent. And this year, it's gonna be total pandemonium with their presentation, Calypso to the World. Get ready for the settlement of all arguments when the cast hits the stage for preliminary judging this Friday, June 13th at the Russell's Auditorium. Come and hear powerful renditions from Lexander, Homie, Hero, Johnny Rebel, Tajo, Buster Ski, Ipa, Patches, Sunny Banks, Armstrong, Shaka, Iwa, Precious J, Kenny, Abuza, The Mighty Malone, Mitch, Shiwali, and Obedient Boy. All backed by the Blazing Fire Band. Time 8 p.m. until. Don't miss the massive Graduates Calypso 10 2025. Brought to you by CK Graves, Careers Trading Limited, Keku, the CDC, Leninese Supermarket, Franklin Brown Valuation Services, C. Prescott & Sons Limited, Massey Supermarket, and BMC Agencies.
Sponsored by Log Enterprises Limited.
Do you spin a dial to make a call on your rotary phone from the 60s?
No.
Are you driving an unreliable and risky automobile made in the 1900s?
Of course not.
Are you still fiddling with an antenna to get good signal on your black and white television from the 20s?
Really?
Then why are you still stuck in the past, sitting on an unintelligent 1930s design toilet? That's right, 1930s design. What does your bathroom say about you? Don't get left behind. The VC.
99.9 WEFM.
Cop Chat. You've got questions for the police? They're here to give you the answers on WEFM 99.9.
The world has become such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop up the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in our use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
We are back with our Cup Chat discussion here this morning. We are speaking all things hurricane preparedness, and we're speaking with Mr. Stanley Harris from VINLEC and ASP Mark Ellis from the Police Force Fire Brigade. If you have questions, you can call us 457-9997, and you can reach us on WhatsApp and the landline with that number. All right, so can you give us some tips on how we can store flammable liquids during the hurricane season?
Yes, this is the reality that we face at our homes and at our workplaces, at time and business places. We have flammable liquids, including gasoline, paint thinner, and cleaning solvents, are commonly found in households. This is the reality, while these materials are often necessary for everyday tasks, improper storage can cause fire and severe consequences during a hurricane and after the hurricane. So I'll just list. Do not store or use flammable materials near heat, sparks, or flames. Store flammable liquids in their original containers. Many times, rather than storing the gasoline in the proper container, we want to use something else. That should be a no-no. When you store in proper containers, you keep them tightly capped or sealed. Avoid improvised storage. You do not want to do that. Keep flammable materials in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight and sources of heat. Use specifically designed cabinets that meet safety standards for safe storage. So I really want to advocate that, if you're going to store your flammable liquids, make sure you do it properly to avoid fire or explosions.
All right. Apart from the kitchen, I think I could say, obviously, what other place in the home would you say is unsafe for storing those liquids?
You don't want to have them too close to you see the kitchen, this stove. So, most of the time, some people build a little shed, a little away from the home. It doesn't want to be too far, that you can store your family, and you always want to ventilate. And so on, yes.
All right. Next question, I think, to VINLEC. Could you give us some tips on how we can secure various things within our homes, probably more so electrical or associated things for the hurricane season or before the hurricane season?
So just to say to you, though, that when you have your electrical devices, think of it that you have your transformer or your stereo set. Typically, persons may have things on a space saver. If you have anything directly on the ground, it's advisable that you have it elevated. Think of it this way. You may have a block you may have a piece of board, you may have a tile. And the reason why you want to have it elevated and directly onto the ground is just by chance. It's not hurricane only, it's just generally. Just by chance, if imagining you have in your kitchen and you have an open plan, and by chance it just so happens that you have a water leak or any wet nature, and that water runs down to the area that you have your device. So first off, from a safety perspective, you have it elevated. It has to be maybe an inch or two above so that the water would have been under. So you directly, when you get back in, and I'm bridging that into the passage of hurricane, etc., that if water is there, the electrical equipment and devices not directly on the ground. So the best would have been something like a block level, and you have a piece of board on that. So it's sitting at least maybe 8 inches off the ground. However, if you put 2 tiles and you have it at least elevated and directly on the ground. If you have something pending, imagine there is weather pending, power might go during the time because we do a shut off for safety of possibility based on the nature or category of the pending event. What is advisable? Go at your main breaker and turn it off. So first, that immediately disrupts the possibility that there's any incoming power for any kind of condition. It's first going to be an aspect for security that and the reason why I say that is that we do not control what happens out there, in the sense that imagine a tree was hitting a line and bringing it back. You inside would see in what we call flickering. And basically, if power goes, just turn off your breaker. You now be assured that nothing incoming can potentially affect my equipment. And secondly, if something untoward happen, at least you're secure because it shuts off any incoming possibility.
I suppose the only concern with that, though, is when we shut it off, we may not know. Okay, let's say electricity does go. We would know when it's back.
True.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you. So thank you for that. And I really thank you for that, because I was saying, here it comes. So let me tell you what, right? Remember, I would admit to you that we will not have 100%, but I reasonably would say to you, what you can do is you look outside your window, and once it is a time, it could be for something in the evening based on cloud cover, because the street lights operate on the level of darkness. And so when the percentage darkness comes at a certain time, during weather condition, you'd have cloud cover, etc. If it's sufficiently dark enough, the street lights would come on. So if it's a nighttime, or if it's coming into the night, that's one means in which you would be able to identify. Now, the other mean in which is going to be a peculiar, is that we are in the social media space. And I know WhatsApp is a fantastic tool. So you WhatsApp your neighbor, hey, you know, if power come back, etc. So there are means in
but
which...
we're hoping that they turn off theirs as well.
They may. But the thing is this, right? You may not be in a place in which reasonably you may look out and see a street light on. I'm just trying to find other avenues how you connect. And the reason why I'm saying that is that we're talking hurricane and so on, but it's also a way to build in your neighborly connection in the case that you had any untoward situation. If you heard some noise in your house, etc., it'd be great that you, hey neighbor, I'm hearing something here. So if you have that kind of communication between you and your neighborly persons, it's not only when hurricane, but you're building in other things there.
All right, as you said that, I always remember these situations where current goes.
Okay.
I'm in my house, current goes. Or my neighbor's in her house and current goes. You have current. We always do this question because we think that the current is gone by us alone, So it's always a little bit amusing with these situations, but yeah.
And just let me say on a sidebar with current going generally, typically what we've found is that 4 of us is in 4 different homes. None of us spoke with each other, but we all probably said, no, Ellis is probably going to call. No, Stanley going to call Vinlek. So if power goes, also, apart from intercommunicating, at least you say, hey, I had already called them. I know this is happening. Also, I didn't get through because the lines are busy. So that intercommunication has a 2-tier. It has between us as the persons who are neighbors, and it have reaching out to utility to at least say, no, I'd already called. This is what they said.
Okay.
I want to add something too in terms of fire that a lot of people tend to forget. And it's really good to have to add fire safety into your evacuation plans, because this will help a lot. This will minimize the risk of fire hazards during the hurricane. And once you have a well evacuation plan with fire safety included, it could mean the difference between life and death for your family. So it's good to have a fire safety. You include it into your evacuation plan.
And that also, because it's on this cop chat that I also learned about, they getting these storage bags, etc., so that you can put your documents in them.
Yes.
And the fire blankets as well. So every home should try to have. Home and vehicle should try to have.
Yes.
But just let me add to say, in a broad plan for hurricane preparedness, it should include various elements, safety, security, etc. And just let me make a point to say that if you had during the passage and you secured and you powered down, when things are cleared and you're informed by the national means that things are powered back, what we advocate, do not just go and turn back on your mains. Make an inspection around. See if you had any walls that were cracked out, any seeping water, etc. Make that check first before putting on. If you have any suspect, engage a qualified or licensed wireman. Note, we do have licensed wireman in St. Vincent. It's a legal position by law. And
it's actually termed licensed wireman.
There are if we go to CAP 404, that's the latest. I'm familiar with the older one, but it is licensed wireman. It's the only trade that is licensed. So your carpenter is not licensed, your mason is not licensed, but the only one by law in St. Vincent is a wireman.
And the word is not electrician, just wireman?
That's how the law has it. You may call them an electrician, but licensed wireman may be an electrician who is having qualification by a certain entity.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. So we're just advocating, if you suspect something, don't try it yourself. Engage somebody who knows what they're about and get it checked out before you go and create harm for yourself.
Something I want to add to what Mr. Harris said or whatever, in terms of when you're returning to your home, you make sure you check your appliances, because sometimes they can get wet. You don't want to just go and plug back in. And at fire, something we always advocate to always treat, because we know during hurricane you'll have down power lines. Yes. Always treat all down power lines as they are energized. Yes.
Okay. So we have a call. Hi, caller. Good morning. Okay, that call went. All right.
So we can talk about the backup power system, the generators that some persons have. Let's talk about.
Okay, the person's calling back. Headphones. All right. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I could like to ask a question, right? With Finley, you have your fridge and your fridge is in and nobody is at home, and the light went and come back and it shut out your fridge. How that supposed to be? Suppose they're not home, because that happened to me. Right now I have a big fridge in my house not working and a sick person right in my house. So I want to know, in October around they took the lights, nobody was home, and when we come, the fridge shocked out. It was like 10-15 minutes the light went, 20 minutes about that, because when I was down by Prestige and when I walk come up, the fridge, the light came back. So I want to know, when that happened to people and nobody is at home, what is the procedure?
Okay, so you would have a written report sent in to us, or you physically drop it off. Just what you said to us, you state the date, the time, what was the nature of the event that you went away and power went for 15-20 minutes, say on the 12th of June between this and this time, and have that submitted, and we'd undertake an investigation on the matter and make a response to you.
Okay. So there's a lot otherwise to that. And what about let me ask another question. It wouldn't be long.
No
Now
problem.
I don't have a what my washer is on
Okay.
and my fridge is on. So the light bill comes. And my light bill was like $83, and then it come the other month, $101. And this next month is a big whopping $187. No children in the house buying me clothes. I want to know where is that coming from.
So I would recommend that at this point, I may only be able to postulate any number of things. However, it would require an engagement with you, the person you visit the customer service, and our clerks there would take your information, find your account, indicate the time periods you're speaking of, so we can undertake an assessment of what's happening.
Okay.
It could be any number. It could be any number of things, but because the particular conditions that may contribute to that one way or the other, it would be unreasonable for me to say to you if it's A, B, or C, unless I had the material in front of me, and then I can advise you.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, guys. And
you have a good one. Take care.
All right, you as well. Thanks.
All right. Okay. All right.
The portable generators, using them during and after hurricane. A lot of people doesn't really know the bits and pieces when it comes to using portable generators. Should only be used outdoors.
Oh, serious?
Yes.
It's a good thing having this program.
I'll say it again. Portable generators should only be used outdoors and carefully located to ensure that exhaust fumes do not enter the home. Avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Allow the generator to cool. I've seen this before where people using generators, and even before the generator cool down, they want to refuel.
No,
that should be no. That can cause a fire. So allow the generator to cool down before refueling. Refuel the generator outside, following the manufacturer's instructions. Store fuel for the generator in approved containers again.
So one of the portions I'd like to add into that space is a portable generator. A few would have probably come into the country last year. And there is no process like you bringing in a computer, that any registration with the utility or anything like that. So if you wanted one, each of you for your home, probably you brought it in, and what you did with it is what you did with it. However, it is important that the persons who are bringing in the generators and installing it in their homes have an application with the electrical inspectorate that they are actually modifying their circuit or adding an equipment to their circuit. So let me just be clear a few minutes. There is what is called fixed wiring. Think of your lights, your switch. However, there are what is called the equipment, which is the computer, the AC, etc., etc. Fixed wiring don't move. We can take out that AC and replace it. We can move this computer. Those are the equipments. So a generator is now an additional equipment that you're going to put into service. But the funny thing with a generator is this. Remember, the generator is producing energy, and Vinlec, as a utility, is delivering energy. What persons have to be mindful of is that the reason why you need to have it, your service inspected to integrate the generator, is that we don't know, the inspectorate don't know what you have done in your house to alter bringing in that generator in service. And there is a process in which, how do you turn off utility and generator is running? And when utility is on, generator is off. That needs to be inspected and certified so that you are clear from a safety and a security perspective that when you connect that generator in-house, so you got some electrician to do that. Note what I said, eh? You got some electrician to do that.
Not the licensed wireman.
And you get in your generator running and Vinlec is off. However he does that, and something happens. Somebody gets shocked, your house burned down, your property get damaged, somebody get injured. It's a whole slew of things. Now there's a proper way to do things. It may be faster for a person to do that because I'm getting it in. They got the non-tax period and they hook it up, etc. They are secure, etc., etc. But it's imperative from an electrical perspective to follow the necessary for avoidability. And I want to say we have met before, and his predecessor, we have had a long-standing relation between fire and VINLEC.
Yes, we do.
And what I want to say to you is that when there is a fire service respond. Now hear this. If they deem there is an electrical matter there, they're not going to pour water.
No,
they're going to call VINLEC. And it takes time for us to get there.
Yes, you're correct.
And so sometimes in the public space, there is this thing about how the place burned down and what have you, etc. But the public need to be aware that conditions of fire could be reduced and mitigated, but the response to it has certain challenges.
Yes, yes.
And
correct.
I say that to say this, that if you follow these foundation about fire safety, about getting your place inspected under certain conditions, it was raining and you saw something untoward, have your electrician check it. If you're going to install the generator, please, you never know what can happen. So we spoke about the event of the generator operation and the fumes that can be harmful. It needs to be outdoor, etc. But there's another side we also want to be conscious of, because if there's an untoward condition and Mr. Ellis and his team gets there, Mr. Ellis and his team is not going to pour water, then VINLEC has to come. But if it is reasonably done, it will be able to probably trip the circuit, take out the power. Even though some level of fire is there, it is not getting to that aggregated state, and you can save property.
And just to add to what Mr. Harry said a while ago, and I really want to commend you for the relationship between the fire service and VINLEC, because at times when we respond, we have to be safe. That's just the reality. So, but I must say, over the years, VINLEC have been responding promptly, quickly.
I was just going to ask about the level of responsiveness.
Yes. I must say that, and I want to commend VINLEC again, and I want to publicly thank them, because at the end of the day, when they come and they cut the electricity, then we are safe to go in and extinguish the fire. But sometimes, we get licks from the public because, we don't go in as quickly as possible.
Standing around just waiting.
Right.
Like
but the reality is that, electricity is there and you want to be safe. So there are times when we will wait on VINLEC and they normally come quickly. Yes, I must say that. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So it is now after 9, so we are a bit over time. Roleza, do you have anything more? No? Well, at this point...
It was a part 2 program.
Yes, I would love to have a part 2. At this point, I'm just going to give you gentlemen the final word. Whatever thoughts you want to leave with our listeners today, I am now giving you that opportunity to do so.
Something I want to add to in wrapping up, after hurricane, we have trees that are down, and sometimes some persons want to go by themselves to clear these trees, clear these roads and so on. That can be very dangerous. So, I'm thinking, unless you get the okay from the authority to do that, it's best you leave it alone, be safe, and let the authorities come in and, clear these trees and so on and so forth. Sometimes you have roads that are black. And something I see normally happens is that as soon as a hurricane passes, people want to drive on the road. Sometimes it's not safe, So I just want to add that in my wrapping up.
I want to take the opportunity to just say to our listeners, the preparation for hurricane, the passage and the thereafter, some things that we need to have a mindfulness of. And what has been presented here for some level of awareness, you have a powerful tool in your hand for most persons who may have either data or may have Wi-Fi. Take an opportunity to do a few clicks and acquaint yourself, because that information that you will acquire hereafter for your own self, it can save life, it can reduce hurt, and definitely property damage, it can significantly reduce. So I'm just saying, take the opportunity beyond this point and this talk that we presented this morning to explore what you can do for yourself. Thank you.
All right, then. Okay. So with that, we've come to the end of our interview. This morning, we were speaking about...
And just that to know that some persons have expressed some commendations to both of you. It's a very informative program and delivering, etc. So commendations to both of you.
Thank you.
From the listeners.
Thank you.
All right. So we were discussing hurricane preparedness, a multi-agency approach to safety and resilience. And we had in studio ASP Mark Ellis of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force Fire Brigade and Mr. Stanley Harris, who is the Senior Transmission and Distribution Engineer at Vinlec. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It is now 9:10 and at